Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Paint a Mini. Alright, so we're moving on to more of the Doom Reaper miniatures, and this time we're moving on to the Heavy Weapon Dude. He was the miniature that was the most recently requested one for my channel, so I figured we would go ahead and knock this guy out. Now, as you can see, I've got a layer on there of just white. It's just some off-white color. It doesn't really matter what your base coat is, as long as it's either, you know, an off-white or a light gray or something like that. That should be fine with what you're going to do here. Alright, and I think the first thing that I'm going to deal with is all of the skin. Now, I imagine that the heavy weapon dudes have just a little bit of a darker pigment, or maybe are a little bit more tan than the standard zombies. So rather than start with tan skin and then tan highlight, we're actually going to start with a tan shadow color. And we're going to use this as the base color, and then we're going to dry brush a standard tan skin color after this. Alright, and I think I'll just use a Reaper medium round brush here, and we're just going to go ahead and get his face as well as his arms. Now, one thing that this mini has that you might want to look out for is that he's got just a little bit of a beard. He's got a big kind of bushy like a Jamie Heineman sort of goatee or beard. So just make sure you go around that, and I think that you'll be okay. Now, as you can see, I'm going to be leaving his eyebrows kind of just untouched, because we're going to go over those with a brown color later on. You can go over them, though. I don't think it'll be a huge deal if you do go over the eyebrows a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to try to get in his neck here a little bit. Don't be too upset if you end up getting some paint onto the armor or the belt or anything like that, because we're going to go over, obviously, the armor and the belt with a different shade. Yeah, there you go. That just gets a little bit of tanned skin there. Some skin color there underneath his chin, around his neck and that kind of thing. Alright. Next up is that his arms are bare, so we're just going to go ahead and go over his arms. Now, I don't know if the original sprite art features him wearing gloves, but this particular mini, at least his right hand here, is definitely wearing a utility glove or a work glove, army glove, something or other. Leave the glove the way it is. And then, you know what? It doesn't really look like... I don't see the glove sort of crease on this arm right here, so I'm just going to assume that he doesn't have a glove right here, and we're just going to go over his whole hand with this tan shadow color. Alright, and that's a good, nice solid layer there of the tan shadow for the first layer. So I'm going to rinse off the brush that I was just using. And then next up, I kind of want to bring some highlights to all of that skin, so I'm going to take out a standard tan skinned color. This is a little bit lighter, and we're just going to dry brush all of the skin bits that we just did using this tan skin color. I'm going to be using a smaller dry brush. This is an Army Painter brand that I got relatively recently. So I'm going to be using this one as my dry brush. Alright, we're not doing anything too special. That should be fine right there. Not hugely noticeable, but that's okay. Alright. Just going to rinse that off. Next up, why don't we go ahead and knock out that big old beard that he's got, that big goatee, as well as his eyebrows. So I'll take out some earth brown right here. This is just a nice standard, really, really simple brown color, basically. That's all that this is. If I can get some paint out of my bottle here. Uh-oh. Might be having some trouble. Let me see. Alright, let's use a slightly more detailed brush. I'm going to be using a Reaper small-size round brush. It's not quite, you know, small detail, micro detail, or anything like that, but it's just a little itty-bitty brush. That helps for some smaller details, like, you know, the face and the stuff that we're doing here. As you can see, I left the mouth there completely white, but that'll be fine for now. There we go. He kind of looks like a bulky, dwarven Walter White. kind of looks a little Heisenberg right there. All right, next up, I want to move on to the armor itself, which is going to make up these boots right here, as well as all of the plating, so like the chest plate and the shoulder pads and that kind of thing. And to start, we're going to use some deep red. This is my kind of go-to dark red color. And I think we can use that medium Reaper round brush that we were using earlier. So let's just do that. Let's start with this boot right here. Why not? Doesn't really matter where we start. Okay, so I've got some nice dark red boots there. So now we're going to move on to his actual chest plate and his shoulder pads. Now he's got this big belt going across his shoulder here. I'm going to try to unpaint that, or leave it unpainted. Excuse me, sorry. I have had the flu for the last week, which is part of why I have not been doing any video stuff at all lately. So, oh man, thank you for your patience. For people who have been waiting for videos but haven't gotten any for a while. Part of it was the fact that I had the flu. A big part of it, though, was just the fact that other stuff came up and all that, so, you know. One thing that happened was I got a new computer, got a new laptop, and it's a very good laptop. It's got an NVIDIA GTX 1080 graphics card, which is apparently really good. I don't really know for sure. It's just kind of what I'm told. It's got 16 gig of RAM, i7 processor, and 256 gig solid state drive that the operating system is on, as well as all of my major files and all that. So I've been playing around with that. I can actually play Doom 2016 on a PC now, which is cool. That's one thing that I've been doing. The only thing is that it doesn't have a disk drive. It doesn't have like a DVD or Blu-ray ROM or drive or whatever, which is kind of problematic because one of my pieces of editing software is on a DVD that I actually bought an official, copy of many years ago. And I like that editing software. Yeah, now I need to get a external disk drive or something like that. On top of that, I actually use Windows Movie Maker for all of my Let's Paint a Mini videos, because now it's just gotten to the point where I can edit one of these videos and get it posted and all that with just a day, if I just commit the whole day to it. So yeah, Windows Movie Maker's great. And apparently Microsoft stopped distributing it back in 2017 or something, which means I can't get it on my fancy new laptop, which means that editing these videos right here is still going to need to be done on my old computer, which, bummer, I guess, but it's kind of annoying that, wasn't... faster video editing was one of the reasons why I got the new computer. But, anyway, I'll shut up about the computer. All right. So now we've got him nice and red there, so I'm going to rinse off my brush that I was just using. All right, and then after we've got that nice deep red all over his armor and his boots there, we're going to go ahead and highlight that armor. So we're going to take out some bright red here. This is called Fire Red. This is just a really, really nice, bright, solid red color. Oh man, all of my paint bottles are stopped up. What I've been doing is I've just been taking a little safety pin here and just kind of poking them into the tips of my paints here. And that tends to kind of free up any paint buildup that might be in there or something like that. Yeah, you can kind of see that there, right there. Okay, that should probably do the trick. Yeah, much better. All right, we'll take that one small dry brush that we were using earlier. And yeah, like I said, we're just going to use the dry brushing technique that we used on the skin, but we're going to use it on the armor with this bright fire red color. So we're loading up a bunch of paint onto our brush, but we're wiping off most of it. That's why they call it dry brushing. All right, let's just get to it. You might really need to do a couple of layers because that deep red can be really, really, really dark. So just be aware of that, but don't worry about it. Now, as you can see, I'm getting a little bit of paint onto the pants there. Don't worry about it because we're going to be painting over the pants with another color. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this before most of the other stuff, is because if this shows up on the other colors, it's very, very bright. All right, so now he's got a nice bright red armor there. And that looks good because it's got some, it's got some low lines of darkness and all that, so it's got some depth. I like that. We're going to keep it that way. All right, so I'm rinsing off my dry brush. And then next up, I'm going to be moving on to some Skaven Blight Dinge. This is just a dark gray color. That's all that this is, and we're going to use this for a few things. The first thing that we're going to do with it is we're going to coat... Let's start with the little ammo strap that he's got there. So, or not the ammo strap, the weapon strap, the little strap that's going across his shoulder there. Let's start with that. Okay, so that's just the strap there. Next up, let's go ahead and do the backpack that he's got here, because I imagine, I think that that's just going to be the same sort of color as well. Alright, and then after we've got the backpack there, let's go ahead and get his pants as well. Now you may notice that he has some magazine pouches right here, some bullet pouches or whatever. Leave those. If you want to paint over them, you can. Doesn't really matter. I wouldn't worry about, extreme detail or anything regarding them. Because what we're going to do is we're actually going to touch them up with sort of a green color later on. Because I feel like the sprite work for the heavy weapon dude has, gray pants, red armor, but then there's a little bit of a sort of olive green touch to certain spots, and I figured that we could just implement that by adding them to all the pouches. There we go. Now our heavy weapon dude has some gray pants there. Some nice dark gray pants, as well as his big old backpack there that's probably housing all of his bullets. Alright, and the next step, I want to use that same color to go ahead and do the base as well. Just because of consistency and all that, and because I think that the previous miniatures that I've painted have all just had gray bases. I'm going to bump my brush game up a little bit for that, though. This should be fine. This is just some random no-name large brush. There we go. So now the base just has a nice sort of brown look there. All right. Or brown. Gray. gray look there, so that's what we're going for. All right. You know what? It just occurred to me actually that I forgot he's got a glove on this hand right here. And so why don't we just go ahead and assume that that's going to be the same color as the fabric of his uniform, or the cloth of his uniform, so basically the same color as his pants, and let's just use that same gray color for that glove then. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long. Alright, and then yeah, like I said, we're going to go ahead and use some olive green here for the pouches as well as the actual sort of buckle on his shoulder strap there. Not sure why that's got the green color on it, but if you refer to the artwork or the sprite work for the heavy weapon dude, it is definitely that same sort of, you know, greenish color, that olive green color. So why don't we go ahead and start with that. Alright, there we go. So now we've got the pouches there with that nice green color. Alright. Alright, next up, the bullet belt itself is very, very, very bright, actually. It's a very bright sort of goldish orange color, like maybe an amber color. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with the layer of fire orange. We're just going to go ahead and paint the entire belt with this color, and then we're going to go ahead and do some gold over that. Alright, there we go. So now we've got a nice orange color onto that bullet belt. That's looking pretty good. Alright, next up, let's knock out that chain gun. So I'm going to take out some honed steel, just good old-fashioned, you know, gunmetal steel, basically. That's what this color is. Alright, and then we're just going to go ahead and coat a nice, even layer around the whole minigun. Now, the chain gun. Now, because it's not a super high-detailed thing, I'll go ahead and use a slightly larger brush. This is just a random, you know, large flat brush or whatever. I think that I can safely get away with using this. Alright, so now we've got the chain gun with a nice metal steel color to it. Alright. Next up, we're going to take some new gold right here, and we're going to use this to dry brush the ammo belt. And this will just give it its nice sort of, you know, bullet casing kind of look to it. Uh-oh, this bottle's all stopped up too. And we're going to use our dry brush for doing that, so I'm just going to get my dry brush going here. I don't think this is going to make a huge visual difference, but I think that it'll add just a little tiny bit, just that little extra thing that it needs. That's what I'm hoping for. Did not need out the amount of paint there that I had, but I like that. That looks really, really good. I don't know how well it shows up on camera, but yeah, it definitely retains that sort of gold and orange sort of look that's on the sprite art, but it's got a nice sort of shiny look to it. Yeah, I like that. That looks great. Okay. Next up, we're going to go ahead and add some just nice universal shade around the whole guy here. So what we'll do is we'll just take out our nice handy-dandy go-to Agrax Earth shade here. This is a nice shade color that's got a, you know, a sort of a brownish tint. Which is just kind of nice. Sometimes you want something that's got a little bit of an earthy sort of look to it, and not just have it be all black. And so we're just going to lightly go over most of the miniature. What we really want to focus on are the pants and the pouches like this, because we really want to bring out some depth there. Go ahead and get just a little bit of his arms and all that too. Just add a little bit more shade and shadow to his arms. Also just kind of touch up any spots that might have some white showing or anything like that, like in between his, you know, his arm and his breastplate right here. Just kind of put that right there. There we go, that fills that in. And you can see there's also a pretty prominent white spot right here underneath his chin and all that, next to the belt. So let's just dab there. There we go. Get his face and his eyes. We'll do just a little bit on the boots. Not too much. I'm just going to sort of lightly dab across all of the armor and the boots and all that. Alright, and then we want to get the chain gun itself. Feel free to go a little bit nuts with the chain gun, because the more shadow you have for each of those gun barrels there, the more prominent they're going to stand out. There we go. That's looking pretty good. And we really have very little else to do. We're just going to go ahead and do his eyes, and then we're going to touch up with some nice cosmetic blood as well. Before we get to that point, though, I kind of want him to be nice and fully dried first, so I'm going to go ahead and let that shade completely dry. Luckily, I didn't use as much as I sometimes do, so it shouldn't take too long, but I'm going to give him just a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back. Alright, so our heavy weapon dude is now nice and dry. And now I just want to finish up the eyes. If my fire orange here is still wet, which it looks like it is, that's great. Okay, cool. I'm just going to poke a little bit of this fire orange onto my brush here. And then I'm just going to dab each little eye. I don't know if it's just this particular print that I got is not as detailed, or if the sculpt is just not quite as great with the eyes, but it feels like this guy's left eye is really kind of shaky. That's okay. We do the best with what we have. Very orange now. Very, very orange. Then we're going to take out our go-to eye color that we've used for all of our zombie men thus far, which is this lemon yellow color. I will use a much finer pointed brush here. This is just going to be a very, very, very tiny brush here, and I'm just going to dot some little pupils onto there, just so that it looks like he's got some menacing eyes. He's looking straight at you. There's his other eye. There we go. So now he's got his nice, creepy zombie eyes. Next up, we're going to touch up with some blood for the blood god, which is my favorite kind of blood paint that you could possibly get. And then we're going to go ahead and call it after that. That one really, really old, crappy round brush that I had a while ago that I put out of commission, I'm going to go ahead and use here because I think it's going to be good for blood. Okay. Now again, as like I always say with this kind of thing, less is more. Now he's got all kinds of blood on his face, on his mouth especially, so I'm just going to go ahead and get his whole mouth there to the point where you almost can't really tell where the blood begins and where his beard ends and where the blood begins, or whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get that going right there. There we go. Now he's looking nice and menacing. Let's go ahead and get just a little bit of blood onto his chrome dome here. Gonna drag it down just a little bit. Uh-oh, I've got a toke. There's a Toki Wartooth. There's a Toki Wartooth. What are you doing, boo? Oh yeah? Scoozy, boo. I'm trying to paint. Alright, let's just get some blood kind of in there to help cover up any more white spots that might be showing. Oh, Toki, you really are being kind of problematic right now. There's a pretty fair amount of blood onto his pants here, so let's just go ahead and get that going. Like I said, less is more. Don't go nuts. Don't just splotch it all over the place. Got some bullet holes in his chest here, so why don't we go ahead and get some blood going there. Just a little bit of blood onto the actual ammo belt. And probably some on his hands, too. Just get some kind of on the back of his leg here. Some on the backpack. Get some coming down off the backpack. Alright, let's get some blood on his feet. And just a little bit more on his head. There we go. You know what? I like that. I think that that is pretty darn good. I'm gonna go ahead and call it with that paint job right there. So there you go, everyone. That is the heavy weapon dude from Doom 2, from the Reaper Doom miniatures. If you like the video, go ahead and throw it a like. If you want to see more videos like this, like the Reaper Doom miniatures, or just miniature painting in general, you can subscribe to my channel. My wife and I will do occasional, you know, board game stuff, whether we're unboxing videos or you know, unboxing board games or different little things, or playing different board games and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, I'll paint some miniatures too, and I'll just kind of talk about random stuff. So if you want to see that, you can subscribe to my channel. You don't have to if you don't want to, but thank you everybody for watching. We will see you next time on Let's Paint a Mini. Oh, and if you want to let me know what kinds of these types of miniatures you would like to see next, you know, if you say, hey, I just want to skip right to the Cyber Demon, show me the Cyber Demon, you know, let me know. Or, you know, if you want to see this miniature or that miniature, you know, whatever, just let me know. I'm trying to just take comments as they come. That's why somebody requested the Arachnotron, and then somebody requested the heavy weapon dude here. So, yeah, I'm just going to knock them out in the order requested, preferably. Otherwise, I'll just knock them out in whatever order I want. And you don't want that, right? You want to be able to tell me what to do, right? I don't know why I said that. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.